Здравствуйте. Hello, everyone. My name is Mr. Steve, and I was an English teacher at KIMEP last year. And welcome to my kitchen. Now I'm back home in the US, and today I want to share with you guys some of my observations about culture here in the US and how it compares to Kazakhstan. So we're going to cover three similarities, three differences, and then I will share some traditions from Iowa, and we will go from there. Oh, this hat? This little thing right here? Where did I get this hat? Hmm, I just found it on the ground. Yeah. Okay. First of all, Iowa, the state that I am from, is known for three things: farming, farming, and farming. Iowa grows a lot of soybeans and corn, and we are the largest pig producer in the United States. We are here in what is called the breadbasket of the US, which just means that we make a lot of food for everyone else. Um, Nothing ever happens here in Iowa. So whenever we have a celebrity or somebody gets famous, it's a really big deal for us. Um, some other facts about Iowa. Opinions about Iowa is that it's really pretty here. It's very spacious, safe, and it's very cheap to live here. So most people who want to come to Iowa do so because it's really cheap compared to like New York or California. Um, Additionally, Iowa has about 150,000 square kilometers of space with 3 million people, and that compares to Almaty region's 225,000 square miles with only 2 million people. So, kind of comparable sizes and populations. As said, today I want to talk about three similarities and three differences, and then share some Iowa traditions. And before we start, I think it is worth noting that America has a particularly nasty history of colonizing and taking over native lands, kicking out or killing indigenous people who are the locals who lived here for thousands of years, and then settling in wherever they took over the land. For instance, Iowa is named after the Iowa tribe of people who lived here before the European settlers arrived. But as you might notice, I am not native. My ancestry is German and Irish, and that is quite common to have um, only European ancestry. This context is important to what I'm going to share with you because there is kind of a disconnect between the last 2,000 years, say, and the most recent 200 years. So the traditions that I will share with you are from the last 200 years, but I'm less knowledgeable about anything before that. So, the first similarity that I want to share with you guys is food. Here in Iowa, as I mentioned, we have lots of farms. And on those farms are lots of cows. So, we have lots of milk products and dairy products, similar to in Kazakhstan. So, whereas you guys have Iran and kefir and kumis, we have lots of varieties of yogurts and cheeses, like some Greek yogurt here, really popular and cheap. We also have cottage cheese, which is basically just tvarok, but called another name, or the American version. Here's some pepper jack cheese. Here is some Colby Jack cheese. And then last but not least, we have the famed American Craft Single. I'll show you the one plastic square of cheese, American cheese. It's really fine. It's okay. I don't know why we own them, but it makes a mean grilled cheese sandwich. So, anyways, a second similarity is grilling meats. So obviously in Almaty and Kazakhstan generally, shashlik is a really big thing. And we don't call it shashlik, but we do grill a lot of meats a lot of the time. So especially in the summer months, um, people will put steaks, chickens, maybe pork chops, um, vegetables, anything on the grill. Um, and we just call it like barbecue or grilling. But it's essentially the same thing. So that's another similarity. And the last one in the food category is sweet corn. So Iowa, my state, is known for our sweet corn. And in the same way that you can go to any, like the Zaloni Bazaar or the Jettasu Bazaar or maybe Barakolka, and you can see all of the vendors with selling corn. You can have the same experience here in Iowa, basically. Lots of people sell sweet corn. So I did have some more similarities to share, but in the interest of time, I figure I will leave it to food. And if you want to hear other similarities that I can think of, then just cry and beg to your teacher, please, Miss August, can we have Steve back? I love you. And anyways, a bonus similarity is that the climate and latitude of Almaty and Iowa are almost identical. So the latitude, Iowa is here, Almaty is here on the Earth, and that means we share the same seasons at the same times with the same temperatures, um, and we have very similar weather patterns. So that's pretty interesting. And one quick note that because we share the same climate, we also share lots of the same produce. So here in Iowa, at least, um, the stuff that I'm looking at, vegetables, fruit, the produce in the store is going to be very similar to the vegetables and fruit that I would buy in Almaty. And then the stuff that you guys are importing from China, say like dragon fruit, is also going to be imported usually from China here to the US. So it's going to be very expensive here. All right, so some quick differences for you between Almaty and Iowa, or the US and Kazakhstan more generally. The first one is driving and walkability. So in America, everywhere except for 2 or 3 cities, maybe New York City, Washington, D.C., everywhere else, you must have a car. Um, Basically, you need a car to get to work, to get to the store and get groceries. Um, Everyone has a car in the US, and everyone must have a car. It's also a factor of really bad public transportation. The public transport, the buses, the trains, the metros here in the US generally suck or they don't exist. So everybody pretty much needs a car to live. And if you don't have one, your life is going to be very difficult. Um, for instance, each member of my family has their own car. So I have one, my dad has one, my mom has one, and my brother has his own car. So all of us have our own cars so that we can go to work, we can go to the store. Um, a specific example is that Walmart, the nearest grocery store to me, is maybe a 40-minute walk away, 40 or 45-minute walk, but it's like a 5-minute drive. And that's kind of the norm, is that if I were to go to work, it would take me maybe 3 hours to walk there, or it'll take me 10 minutes by car. So that's a really big and noticeable difference, is that everywhere in the US, you got to have a car. Another difference is the dating expectations and living arrangements. So here in the US, dating, I would say, is a lot more casual. People date more people more frequently, um, and they date more people before deciding to get married. I actually looked up the statistics. The average age of getting married in Kazakhstan is something like 23 years old. And in the US, it's closer to 29 years old. So just there's maybe like a 6 year gap where in America, if I saw someone who was 23 and married, I would be like, wow, that's really young. Whereas in Kazakhstan, when certainly when I lived there last year, people would be like, "Oh, Steve, you're 23. Where's your wife? Where's your kids?" And that was really funny to me because I was like, I would never get that question in the U.S. People, if I had said I had kids, people would be very surprised to learn that here in the U.S. Um, Another interesting little bit is that in the US, relationships, especially in high school and university, I'm not sure about in Kazakhstan or Almaty, but here in the US, those university or high school relationships are seen as not counting in the same way um, that adult relationships do because they're less serious and they're more just kind of for practice or for fun. So that's an interesting little tidbit about American dating. Really quickly about living arrangements, I just wanted to share that it is much more common for people to move out when they're a lot younger here in the US. So rather than living with your parents, let's say until you get married or are engaged, here it's mostly when you finish university, when you're around 23 to 25 years old, and you've gained lots of independence. You have your own job, your own car, you can take care of yourself. Then lots of young people want to continue and grow their independence by getting their own place, like apartment or a house. And parents, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily expected for everyone to move out right away, but it is more common that parents might gently push their children to leave the house. And for some people, it is an expectation that once they finish school or once they turn 18, that they're going to go and live on their own as an adult. Um, the next and final difference that I want to talk about is dress up culture. So here in the US, especially in Iowa at least, people dress a lot more casually day to day. So something like t-shirt, jeans, maybe shorts, and uh, jean shorts, tank tops. Those are all flip flops, even. Those are all pretty common things that people wear around, I would say. Um, and the culture of like putting on a full face of makeup or really dressing up and having like an outfit for the day is a lot less common, I would say, and is more reserved for like special occasions. Like if you're going out on the town, okay, now I'm going to dress up. But if I'm going to the store, I'm just going to wear like pajamas, basically. In general, I would say the dress is just a lot more casual, and fashion is kind of um, reserved for maybe special occasions or certain people who are really interested in fashion. But I would say, at least here in Iowa, in the Midwest, the fashion is very plain and people don't tend to dress up very much at all. A bonus difference for you guys is that there is no chai culture here in the US, as far as I can tell. At least here in Iowa, I have not had a good cup of tea in since I've been back, essentially. And so that is a very tragic and sad fact about Iowa and the US at large, is that we're not very good at tea. So, in the interest of time, I will be sharing only one Iowa tradition today. But if you want more, certainly reach out to your teacher and we can arrange something. But for now, we are going to talk about the Iowa State Fair, which is kind of the Iowa tradition. So the state fair is 170 years old. It's an event that happens once a year where people come from all across Iowa and the Midwest to showcase their animals and their crops and their livestock, and kind of compete and trade and maybe sell things, maybe buy things. And originally it was for farmers, and kind of it has evolved and changed over time and grown. So now it includes a whole lot more. So, for instance, food has become a really large part of the fair. There's hundreds of vendors that sell lots and lots of different types of food. Um, some of the most famous from the Iowa State Fair are a deep fried Twinkie, a deep fried Oreo, and the most American of all, deep fried butter. Uh, so, food is a large part of the fair. Um, Competitions and animal shows are also a large part. So, people bring their largest cows, their largest pigs, even largest pumpkins, and show them off at the fair. There's lots of art at the fair. There are concerts that take place every year. And then there's lots and lots of competitions like pie eating, pickling foods. So, who has the best pickled radishes, or who has the best pie? Lots of different types of competitions. My family goes to the fair every year. Each person, I would say, has their own kind of mini traditions inside of the fair. What foods you're getting every year, what you like to see. So, for instance, my dad really likes getting lemonade from the fair every year. I like getting a funnel cake, and I like going to see the art building. And of course, you have to see the big pig. But there's just lots and lots to say about the Iowa State Fair. So I'm going to include some videos to try and give you guys some sort of perspective and idea about what's going on. There's lots and lots to the fair, so much so that I don't even know about all of the stuff that goes on, and I go every single year. So I hope you enjoy the videos. I hope you've enjoyed what I've shared so far. Have a good day. Thank your teacher for putting in the work to educate you. And пока-пока. До свидания.